So Gifford Briggs joining us with the Louisiana Oil and Gas Association. Sir, good morning.
Good morning. How are y'all doing this early Monday morning?
Yeah, it's Monday. She's rolled around again. We're doing well. You sound pretty chipper for a Monday morning.
Well, I've been up early having lots of coffee, so we'll blame it on that.
I think that's fair enough. All right, so I was out of the mix for a little while with news, but came back to discuss some of the issues that made headlines last week, including on Friday. Now, I found the story very interesting from a variety of different perspectives, and that story is that New Orleans is the latest to sue some oil, gas, and pipeline companies for allegedly damaging coastal wetlands and threatening the safety of residents, they say. The mayor, LaToya Cantrell, announcing that on Friday. And then, I immediately thought, okay, well, that's interesting in itself as a news item. And LAGCO is moving from Lafayette to New Orleans. And I'm thinking, wow, that's going to be a weird conversation between the mayor and the people at LAGCO, I would think. I don't know. Gifford, fill us in on your thoughts and your perspective.
Well, yeah, you're using a lot of common sense there, Bernie, so I'm not really sure. I mean, we're coming up on Jazz Fest that's wholly and totally sponsored by Shell.
Wow.
And, yet the city of New Orleans is just happy as can be to turn around and sue the industry. It's not just the oil and gas industry, which is a message that we've been saying that the lawyers that are doing this are going to always find someone.
That's right.
They went after New Orleans' own utility with Entergy, and so I don't think anyone's safe from this legal climate that we've got here in Louisiana at all anymore.
And I guess that really is part of the bigger question, whether it is oil and gas or other situations. Has it become a state where doing business now has this huge different side to it? You're doing business, whatever the business may be, and then there's something huge hanging over your head. Why would anyone come to Louisiana?
Well, look, I mean, I think that's a very fair point. Certainly it applies to the oil and gas industry, which is why we're sending so many people over to Texas to work instead of working in South Louisiana. But you don't have to be a business. You can just be a citizen of the state of Louisiana driving your car, and you are dealing with this horrible lawsuit nature that we've got in Louisiana that's driving insurance rates up. And I know everybody, everybody doesn't necessarily think it affects them, but when you look at your insurance rates, and we're some of the highest in the country, the fact that we have a jury trial threshold at $50,000, which is the highest in the country, and we don't have direct action. So I mean, there's so many things that we've got set up that favor lawsuits and not people or businesses or jobs or opportunity, and we're paying the price for it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see it in just the number of people and where do you want your kids to go? Do you want your kids to stay and grow up here in Louisiana? We'd all love that. But ultimately, we end up hoping that they'll go somewhere else looking for better opportunities.
So what's the real deal on the ground? Because some people say, as you kind of just alluded to there, oh, it doesn't affect me, and this is not really an issue. But does it affect conversations that people have about taking a chance on something in Louisiana? Have you heard those conversations?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, whenever any business, and certainly it's true of the oil and gas industry, is considering opportunities and where they're going to invest and grow their business and take their next steps, you're going to look at, okay, what's the tax climate look like? Am I going to be able to make money there? Or the taxes set up favorably or non-favorably? What's the regulatory climate? And certainly you're going to look at the legal climate. And if you were going to drill a well in South Louisiana, the risk of being involved in some kind of lawsuit, even though it may not have anything it may have been something that happened in the 60s, but you buy a piece of property and there happened to be a well on it you didn't know about, and next thing you know, you're involved in one of these lawsuits. That risk is high. And if you can go drill a well in Texas and have the same return and maybe a better even tax climate, a fair regulatory climate, and almost no risk of this type of litigation, why would you invest here? And the reason that some people are still here investing is because that's what they know.
Mm-hmm.
People have just lived in South Louisiana. They've drilled in South Louisiana. But those numbers are dwindling, which is why we have 2 rigs running in South Louisiana land, 2 rigs in inland waters, as opposed to 20, 30, 40, or 50 that we've had even in the 80s when the industry crashed.
Mm.
You know, it's sort of funny because I'm thinking I spent the weekend in New Orleans. I had a wedding to go to, and every commercial I saw for French Quarter Fest, guess who does the commercial? The CEO of Chevron. I mean, it's so interesting how this is, and it's sort of like putting your money where your mouth is when you are the mayor. To just kind of get back to that a little bit, I mean, it's head scratching.
Well, they're being, it's like it's people in these parishes are being, peddled snake oil, right? Like how to call back in the old days. All you got to do is sue, and it's going to solve all your problems. And the reality is we've been involved in these coastal lawsuits for 7 years. Not one permit has been evaluated by the department or the state of Louisiana. Not 1 second of remediation has been done. And there's a much better way to go about it that actually would protect the environment, but that doesn't help the lawyers. And so that's not the direction that we're going to go. Could anyone possibly imagine the city of Houston suing the oil and gas industry?
You know what?
Like,
That's
not. It's not even remotely conceivable that they would do that. Yet here we are in Louisiana.
Yeah.
New Orleans used to be the capital of the oil and gas industry in the country, certainly for the Gulf of Mexico. And now 1 or 2 headquarters left, and they're all in Texas. And I think that there's, certainly how we approach our businesses and our companies here as a state and as communities makes a difference.
I was talking to someone who was actually from Dallas, okay, who was in town for the wedding I was at this weekend. And, we were kind of talking about different things, and we kind of saw this come up on the news, and people were talking about it. And he was shocked because once I started explaining to him why it is that way in Louisiana and how our laws are specifically geared for some of this stuff to happen, he was shocked. Like, he was genuinely shocked for the same reason that you are about would we ever do something, would Houston ever do something like that? Well, guess what? You talk about from our area, Houston's just a stone's throw away. You can come back and visit family whenever you want to. That's why the move is happening so easy. Is there a future? I mean, from LOGA, from your perspective, where you're sitting right now, is there a end of the tunnel, light at the end of the tunnel, or do we need new lawmakers in place?
Well, look, I mean, 2019 is an important year with elections all up and down the ballot from the governor's office, all the way down to local races. And, we're going to have to make a decision as a state, what kind of state we want to be. Do we want to be a state of opportunity that allows companies and encourages companies of all types to want to come invest? Or are we going to be a state that goes after, some of the most important businesses and job creators? And if that's the state we're going to be, it's not going to, we're going to just continue to lose more investment and more opportunity to everyone else. And this culture that we think is so important, particularly in Acadiana, is just going to go away over time. And I mean, that's not something you can get back. When you lose your culture, you can't get a new legislator or a new governor and all of a sudden, hey, come back to Louisiana, we're rebuilding our culture. Yeah. Once we lose all these people to Texas, all these oil and gas companies that were, you get out of high school and maybe you don't go to college and you can go make $75,000 a year working in South Louisiana. Once we lose that we can't get that back. And so, yeah, we're going to need bold action from our governor. We're going to need bold action from legislators, and we're going to need communities to stand up. I mean, look, Lafayette is not off the hook. The district attorney for Lafayette filed one of these suits. Now, it wasn't for Lafayette, but it was for Vermilion. But it's Lafayette's district attorney, and local attorneys that are in the suits going after the industry.
Wow.
Gifford Briggs, LOGA.
Fascinating conversation.
Great information as always. We'll see where this one ends up or where this one goes. But if you look at history, like you talked about 7 years, of one particular one and really no real outcome yet, it looks like it's got to be a long road. We appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you, Gifford.
Not a problem. Thank you. Happy to come on anytime.